What's been the reaction to this new abortion law in Texas?
Well, abortion rights activists have been very angered by the silence of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court basically refused to take up an emergency request to block this law coming into effect. So they didn't necessarily say that this law was constitutional or not. They simply refused to take it up and therefore allowed the law to come into effect. And you mentioned two things that make this law very restrictive. The fact that it bans abortions after 6 weeks when most women don't even know they're pregnant, and the fact that it has very few exceptions, specifically no exceptions for rape or incest. But the main focus of the anger of abortion activists is the way this law could be enforced. Usually the abortion law or an abortion ban would be enforced by state officials, whether it's local officials or the police. But this law specifically prevents that from happening. So it's not the state officials that will be enforcing the law. What this law does is allow anyone, any U.S. citizen across the country, even outside of Texas, to sue anyone who aids and abates the abortion. So everyone besides the actual patient, but it could go, because the wording is so vague, it can go from the doctor who performs the abortion all the way to a friend who would drive the woman to an abortion clinic to get an abortion. And so that in itself makes it possible for anyone to really sue these people. And it also makes it very hard to challenge the law in courts, because what usually happens is that abortion activists try to attack and take state officials to court and to try to move this matter up in the courts. Here, it's going to be very difficult because they would have to sue anyone across the country who could sue really anyone involved close or far in that abortion. So it's making things extremely difficult. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, also reacting, calling this law extreme and a blatant challenge to Roe v. Wade, which of course brought the constitutional right for women here in the United States to get an abortion. That said, this issue is likely to go up into the court, so it's not a final decision. But as things stand right now, in the next few months, thousands of women in Texas who may want or need to get an abortion will not be able to.
Right, and conversely, well, as abortion laws become more restrictive there in Texas, gun laws have become less restrictive.
Exactly, because this abortion ban came into effect at the same time as hundreds of other laws in Texas, including another law on constitutional carry. That's what it's called. And what the law says in Texas is that anyone in the state now over the age of 21 will be able to carry a firearm without a license and without training, meaning there will be almost no restriction on carrying a firearm, except if you're legally not allowed to carry one. So there will still be some sort of background check. But before this law came into effect, there were several things that you needed to be allowed to openly carry a gun in the state. Getting that license required not only to take training classes to learn how to shoot, but you also had to take a written exam, a shooting test, and also go through fingerprinting so that you could be in the database of the state. All of that now goes out the window, and that has also sparked reaction from people in Texas, not only for people who are fighting for more restrictive gun laws, but even from police chiefs in Texas who say that this is making their work much harder, because it's going to be much harder for them to distinguish between who is allowed to have a gun and who is not allowed to have a gun.
Okay, so a series of developments there in Texas. Thank you very much.